Welcome everyone to a sneak peek from one of our NCDC exhibitors, Industrial Network Systems Inc. I want to thank you all for joining us today for this webinar. For over 25 years, INS has been solving efficiency, quality, and cost control problems for industrial customers like GE, 3M, Nestle. They do this by providing their customers with real-time decisions, support solutions, leveraging industry-leading technologies developed by GE, Microsoft, and other major ERP software companies. Today we have two speakers here with us, Mark Hodgson and Joe Bliss. Mark is the director of FacilityConneX. He has 2 decades of customer management and executive leadership experience in the technology and financial services sector. He leads FacilityConnect sales and marketing teams and is responsible for ensuring the success of all customer engagement. Mark is a speaker and contributor in the field of innovation and technology, the industrial internet, and has recently presented at industry events and workshops such as the GE Annual Users Conference, CB Pacific Automation Technology Summit, and AEE GlobalCon 2015. We also have with us today Joe Bliss, who is a designer with BQQ Associates, a Northeast U.S. engineering consulting firm specializing in retro-commissioning, energy-efficient design of commercial and industrial buildings. They are partnering with FacilityConnect, providing the subject matter expertise in energy-efficient buildings and facility management. Joe and the rest of the BQQ team have supplied the knowledge base for the analytics for HVAC and building systems that make FacilityConnect one of the most comprehensive and in-depth continuous commissioning and monitoring tools on the market. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark and Joe to present today's webinar.
Thank you, Liz. We're happy to be here today to talk a little bit about monitoring-based commissioning, and happy to be speaking to the Building Commissioning Association audience. We'll be at the Gateway to the Future of Commissioning next week in St. Louis as well. We'll start by talking just a little bit in interest of time and based on what we know about you folks and your familiarity with the commissioning market. We'll talk a bit about building energy, our approach to smart continuous commissioning, talk a bit about a success story that we've had, and then dive into our software so that you can see how it works in real life examples. We all know the state of today's commercial and industrial space as it relates to energy. The DOE talks about $400 billion in total costs, and we know that a lot of the energy used in our commercial spaces is being wasted today. That's part of the reason that we've all done what we've done over the last many years. Is focused on retro commissioning to identify ways to reduce energy usage, improve operational and maintenance efficiencies across our buildings and facilities, and also to find measures that will drive simple and quick paybacks. We've read the studies and know that retro commissioning projects can save up to 16 to 22% and sometimes more in terms of energy reduction across buildings. Now that's great, but we've also read the studies about how those are very periodic and single instances type approaches to driving down energy usage. You've seen the graphs, and we know that once you tune up a building or equipment, you get those savings, but they don't always persist. And that can be a fact. The reason for that is, environmental conditions, changes to the BMS sequences and settings, or just equipment degradation. So our approach is slightly different in that we want to make sure that we can help those efficiencies and those savings persist. And so we take a continuous monitoring approach to avoid that drift. We also then layer in detection and diagnosis so that we can identify additional measures to drive savings over time. And so you can just sort of see from the delta of savings continuous monitoring and continuous commissioning is going to drive much more savings, both on energy, but also on operational and maintenance efficiencies. A bit about our team and how we develop the software. We're a GE partner, as is INS, and we have been for about 15 years. And the software's platform is built by GE technology, so it's a very highly scalable, highly secure solution. We've also partnered with a company called B2Q, and Joe will be speaking here in a couple of minutes. They are industry experts in and around building commissioning, and their facility and building equipment analytics have been put into the FacilityConneX platform so that the work that they would do in a retro commissioning project can be done in real time and continuously across buildings and campuses. And this is a real continuous approach. Our team also layers in continuous consultation with our customers so that you're never left alone with just the technology. You also have the resources of helping to understand findings and identify the things that you can do right away to make an impact to energy usage. So this is a smart continuous commissioning approach, and it's really about connecting machines, building equipment, building management systems from a variety of different sources, getting that data together, running analytics to provide better insight, and then getting it to the right people at the right time to drive action that's going to help make measurable differences to your energy utility usage across your buildings and facilities. The way that we do this is that we connect in a building environment, typically to a building management system. Now, our FacilityConneX platform is vendor agnostic, so it does not matter if you have a Johnson Control System, Honeywell, Siemens, Automated Logic. We typically connect via BACnet, and we can also connect direct to equipment like boilers and chillers at the PLC level so that we can access more data to make that visual, to be able to trend that data, but more importantly, to run the equipment analytics to identify anomalies in those systems and identify things that you can do to fix those corrections and drive efficiencies. Now, our connections are made outbound only, so they're very secure with encrypted and encoded connections and trusted servers on either side. We're storing all that data in our own data historian in the cloud and then making it available to see at any time and anywhere on your iPad, on your smartphone, or on your browser. This allows our users to be able to get real-time performance health, an assessment of how any piece of equipment or any system is performing at any time. We also include tools that allow for collaboration between users so that you can take notes and pass on tasks to other folks in your organization. And again, this is available on any device that you want to have in your environment. We then layer in, as I mentioned, the predictive equipment analytics, and these are the things that commissioning agents and consultants would sift through mounds of data and put it in their own Excel spreadsheets to try to identify areas and develop ECMs for improvement. We're running this in real time in our software to identify the top areas or across a building or across a campus that you can improve energy usage. And we're driving down to the probable root causes. And in a minute, Joe will show that to see some real-life examples of this. And then lastly, we layer in notifications and alerts. Not BMS alerts, because we know you get a lot of noise with that, but really we focus on some of the critical failures, the ones that are driving the highest amount of energy waste. And we can send those to anyone on the team that would want to react quickly to help resolve some of those issues. Just a quick success story at a company called South Coast Health. They had approached us because they have both short and long-term objectives in reducing their operating costs There are 3 hospitals and a cancer center, so indoor air quality as well as air change compliance is paramount for their concerns. They also wanted to change the culture of their facilities management group to be less break-fix and less reactive, and have tools in place to be more proactive and predictive about their approach to operations and maintenance. And they wanted tools to help them identify their improvements so that they could maximize on local utility incentives. In short, we connected to 3 different building management systems, over 2 million square feet in facility space, and we monitor now over 20,000 points and 1,000 individual pieces of equipment across those facilities. In year 1 alone, we're able to help them save over $500,000 in energy usage, and by verifying those corrections, they were able to apply and obtain close to $250,000 in rebates from the local utility as well. So I want to pass this over to Joe so that Joe Bliss can show you some very specific examples of some of the fault detection and diagnosis capabilities within our FacilityConnect system. Joe?
Yep, thanks very much, Mark. So we'll take a look here. We're just going to take a look at what it's like to be a facility manager or an energy manager using the system. You know, with these sorts of folks in their positions, their responsibilities truly are around making sure their enterprises are more manageable, getting the most out of their existing staff, and trying to minimize their energy costs. So the focus of the system and everything you're going to see here on these dashboards is truly focused on getting the maximum value for each individual day, each piece of equipment, trying to maximize the amount of savings and the overall greatest operational improvements as quickly as possible. So like I said, if I'm a facility manager and I log in the morning, I see this screen. I've got all my different types of equipment that are being monitored currently on my my top left here. Each of these is categorized together because I've got particular interest with each one, and I want to be able to see the current status of the group as a whole. So in this case, you can see the air handling units here at the top seem to be having some sort of difficulties, while my boilers and my cooling towers seem to be operating pretty well. So I know right off the bat in less than 5 seconds where I want to direct my attention. I don't need to be flipping through dozens of BMS screens looking for issues myself. The system will direct me right towards the list of the most important issues here. And now over to the right a little bit, what we see is each of the analytics that we run on our equipment is classified by what we call the severity of the finding. We've got low, medium, high, and critical. The explanation is pretty clear. But the important fact here is that each of the hundreds of analytics that we have available come with a preset default severity, but those severities are customizable. They're user definable. What we want is the customer to be able to go into the system and to say, these particular pieces of equipment, these areas, these findings are the most important to me, and I want to be able to direct my staff to where I want them to be to maximize what I can get out of them in their 8-hour day. So these severities are customizable. We bring the highest severities to the top so that your focus is drawn right to them, and we can dive right into the analytics themselves. So down here in the bottom right is what we call our heat map. This is the percentage of time that each analytic for each type of equipment has been in any level of failure. So in this case, I see all my air handlers highlighted because this was the piece of equipment that seemed to be having the most trouble. It's sorted directly so that air handler 4 here at the top comes to the top. It's the one that I want to focus on first. It's got the most red in that bar. So if I'm going to go ahead and double click on that, that'll bring me to my next screen. And what you see here, this screen is focused directly on this specific piece of equipment, whereas the previous screen was looking at all of my equipment. I want to look just specifically at this one here. At the top, we've got a list of all the different analytics running. In this case, for an air handler, we have about 40 or 50 running, but the most important one comes to the top again, as I mentioned. We don't want to be wasting any time scrolling through and reading through descriptions. I want to get straight to action, because I know I've only got so much time to fix these things. And then in this case, we have an analytic that's failing that's related to the economizer. Looks like we've got a potential energy waster here because we're not maximizing our free cooling ability. So the system will highlight that for me. I can go ahead and click on it, and that will bring up the two menus that you see to the bottom. On the left, what we'll see is what we call the findings transitions. So over the course of a week or a month or so, these analytics aren't going to be failing the entire time. They're going to go in and out of problem zones. And I want to know when those transitions are happening, how long they're lasting, and what are the triggers that are causing those changes to happen. That will key me in as a facility manager into what's the problem exactly and how do I go about fixing it. So for example, if I see that I'm having an issue with the economizer not working properly overnight, perhaps I want to check in with my overnight maintenance staff to make sure that they're not doing anything that they weren't supposed to be, or perhaps there's some sort of override that's left in place by the day staff that's not being corrected by the night staff. So I want to be able to get directly to the heart of the issue, and that's what the analytic probable causes here in the middle right is, that pie chart. The system is continuously monitoring the available points, and it's also checking for each analytic to see, if we see a problem like an economizer not operating properly, there could be 3, 4, 5 different actual causes of why that's not happening properly. And we want to know exactly where I should have my technician start his work so that he's not trying out 4 or 5 different things looking for the exact answer. I want to let the data in the system tell me where he should be focused. So in this case, the probability of being the true root cause is ranked for you. So I know where I want to have my technician start, and I know how to get to completion of this issue as quickly as possible. And then the final thing you want to see before dispatching your technician to fix this issue is, you want to have confidence in the system as a facility manager. You want to feel comfortable that what the system is telling you to do is what you actually want him to be doing. So that's why we've got this real-time customizable trending window on the bottom right here, which I'll have Mark just blow up a little bit for us. So by opening up this next menu, you see all the available data for this piece of equipment is automatically brought up into a trend for you. It focuses directly on the center. The center of the graph will focus directly on your issue. Your axes on the left will be automatically set so that you can get directly to confirming this issue. You don't have to spend any time fumbling around with axes or moving up and down different data to try and get everything into view. Everything will come directly there for you. And what we can see pretty clearly is in the late afternoon here, the outside air conditions get to their maximum for the day. We get to about 36 BTUs per pound, which is pretty warm and pretty humid. And the economizer damper is still 100% open, which signals that the intended sequence of operation is not moving the way it's supposed to be. And as a result, we're bringing in too much hot air, having to cool it back down. We're wasting energy. And this is something that it's pretty easy to slip through the cracks. It's an issue that won't necessarily affect the discharge air temperature or the volume of air that's being delivered to the space, so nobody's really going to complain that they're uncomfortable. Nobody's going to signal anything to the maintenance staff that they need this issue resolved, but all the while we're wasting energy. So the system, as Mark mentioned, it's running in the background. It's the eye in the sky that keeps an eye on every piece of equipment 24/7 so that you don't have to. It's doing the legwork for you, directing your attention where it needs to be, and you can get the most out of your time in a given day just by getting the most important issues fixed first. So in this case, with this customer at South Coast Health, the system alerted them to the issue. They were able to take action, and what they found, as was suggested by the probable causes, was that a damper was being driven open. It was overridden open 100% because there was an issue of a patient room feeling stuffy, so they brought in extra outside air to give it a little bit extra freshness, and somebody left that in place for too long, and as a result, we wasted energy the whole while. But the system caught the issue. They were able to get it fixed, and as you can see here, the next time that the outside air conditions got into a similar range, the damper was back at its minimum, back to the way it was supposed to be. So if we can skip ahead, I think just have another example here, but we're running a little short on time, so we'll skip through here. And I will just sort of sum it up to say, the system, as I mentioned, it's intended to get the most out of a user's time and energy and out of an institution's available resources. So what we want to do is we want to find things immediately. We want to get them fixed as quickly as possible to minimize the amount of wasted energy. We also want to be checking as much as possible in terms of analytics and in terms of equipment. We want to be checking every piece of equipment from the VAV box to the diffuser all the way back up to the air handling unit, to the every piece of equipment, because wherever that weak link in the chain is where the energy starts to seep out. So we want to check everything, and we want to continue to check it going forward after we work on big projects, after we make investments in the building, upgrading the equipment. We want to make sure that those investments are protected by continuously monitoring our equipment into the future.
Thanks, Joe. So to wrap it up, I would want to just talk about sort of the last piece of the puzzle of the FacilityConnect solution, and we call it the FacilityConnect experience, or the FCX experience. And really what differentiates our system from others that are out there in the marketplace is that it really is software with services to help drive your ongoing success. And it's the combination of the GE technology that's actually been deployed to over 20,000 sites across the globe. Expert commissioning analytics from Joe and his team at B2Q. Their president literally teaches the course for AEE on existing building commissioning. And then that continuous consultation about the findings that the FacilityConnect system has to help work within your organization and your resources to help you focus on the things that matter most. And I'll leave with a last thought that's always resonated with me. Our director of facilities at those 4 hospitals had pointed out something that really sticks, and he mentioned that for every dollar saved on operational expenses, it's really worth the same as $20 of additional gross revenue to their organization. And if you think about it, it is easier to go out there and make $20 or find ways to save $1. So with that, I know we're running a little bit short, but wanted to open it up for any key questions that had been submitted through the chat function. Liz?
I don't have any questions at this time. I can give it a few more minutes to see if we get any. But I do want to thank you guys for your time today. This was a really great presentation and well thought out. And just remind everyone that they will be at NCBC, and you can stop by and see them in the exhibit hall. We will also have this presentation posted on our website, and you can come back and view it at any time. We will also send out a link to everyone who wasn't able to make it today that did sign up for the webinar, and make it available to everyone at NCBC. So with that, again, I would like to thank you all for attending and thank Mark and Joe for a really great presentation. And we look forward to seeing everyone in St. Louis. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.